everyone. Welcome back to Run Rabbit Run 100 2023. I'm Jamil Curry here with Mountain Outpost and joined by Jason Schlarb, three-time winner of this race. We're excited to have you joining us today. And our two guests on this portion of the show, we have Arlen Glick and Karen Holland. Welcome to both of you. Welcome to Steamboat.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having us here.
Both of you are returning runners, from my understanding. Arlen, you were second here last year, and Karen, you ran a few years ago. I think you were seventh in 2017, if that sounds right. Ring a bell?
And then fourth in 2015.
Perfect. Okay, so you're a longtime veteran out here.
Back when Cow Creek was part of the course.
Okay.
I miss Cow Creek.
It's a beautiful part. I actually biked it earlier this week.
Right on. Well, you guys are both lining up with the Hares race tomorrow. Arlen, you're coming to us from Ohio. Karen, Canadian by way of Arkansas most
Correct.
recently. You just made the drive across the country. Where do I want to start? I want to start maybe with you, Arlen, real quick. You've had quite a year already. You got a first place at Umstead. You finished Western States and Hard Rock, and now you are here at Run Rabbit. I'm just curious, and maybe a lot of people are curious, why Run Rabbit and not UTMB?
Yeah, to me, like, when I considered my options, I had kind of decided UTMB. I just couldn't get excited about going after that, kind of hopping on one leg or whatever I had left. I recovered fine from Hard Rock, but was just not in the right headspace to step on the big stage again. And so I was looking for some quiet race that is a little less coverage. At the time, I didn't know you
And
guys
then
were
here
going to be
we
doing
are
it.
interviewing you.
Literally found out like 3 days ago that you guys were doing it live. I think it was when you emailed me for this, and I'm like, why are they there? They're probably doing live coverage. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I didn't get what I came for. But anyway, yeah, but to speak a little more directly to your question, I knew I would be in France over UTMB. And so I was thinking, like, is there a mountain race? Because I'm not done running for the year, obviously. And I was thinking, like, what mountain race would be the latest one that I could still slide in before the snow starts to fly. And with being over in France for 2 weeks, it kind of got my mountain wheels turning again. And then the timing worked out perfect. So it was more about timing than anything that got me here, probably.
Nice. That's great. Karen, how's your year going so far, and why are you back?
Excellent question. I did Western States after waiting 10 years to get in last year. Had a fun little allergic reaction at basically like devil's thumb, and rallied and was hungry to finish. And I remember literally laying on the pavement at the bottom of this mountain saying, I will never do a 100 again except if it's Western States. Here I am. Funny enough. I do have a love for Colorado, and this time of year is stunning. And I also love skiing. So what better way to prepare for it than a little running race?
You ran the back 40 trail run and bike. You're wearing biking shoes and biked here right now. Tell us about this race. You got first and you were 6 overall. What was this race about?
Back 40 is an iconic trail in northwest Arkansas. They have put themselves on the map for more biking. However, as everyone knows, bike trails can be used for running. It's primarily where I train. I live basically on the back 40 route. If you haven't been to Arkansas, hit up the trails there. They are definitely bike trails, so you have a lot of features and really odd things to run, which makes it a little bit more fun. Pretty rugged trails, not as nice dirt as there is here. So yeah, since it's a local race, love to participate in what's available in my backyard and just getting involved with trail community locally. So
there's no biking. It's just trail running.
It is no biking.
Okay.
It used to be, contrary to me having bike shoes here, that was my shakeout. And I couldn't resist being in the state and not being able to bike. And I think it's a great way to just relax the legs and the mind. It used to be a trail run day 1 and a bike race day 2. Gotcha. And then it became too much for the coordinator, and so it's just the run now.
Gotcha. You know, a lot of the Run Rabbit Run courses is on trails, especially Pot of Gold and what used to be Cow Creek, on that kind of bike grade. Do you feel like you're suited for that or adjusted to that? You said that in Arkansas is a little bit more rough, though.
Mm-hmm. A lot of really rough rocks, and it just chews up tires and like running shoes. I had to change like what I've been wearing traditionally. I used to wear the Kigers, and I've gotten rid of those since they just don't have enough cushioning. So
not the same as Steamboat then.
Yeah, there's just rocks everywhere and a lot more rock bed, and just really like not as much. I guess we don't have as much mud maybe, but just that rugged rock. So
do you feel more ready this year for Run Rabbit Run? How are you feeling?
I feel like it was so long ago that I can't even remember. Probably fitness-wise, I was a little bit younger, so it's hard to compare, different course, but I've had a better lead up. I did move to the U.S. for a job, and so that was overwhelming to try and get my expat situation set up at the time during COVID, and so now I feel a lot more settled and have, you know, my bearings about me, and you just kind of have your run routes, you know, where your run clothes even are. You're not searching through a suitcase. So that's been a reassuring thing for training, just to have some regular routine.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Karen, I see you're a multi-sport athlete, and I do want to learn a little bit more about the Bruce Trail FKT. It looks like you did it in 8 days, 22 hours. I don't know anything about that.
I was hoping it wouldn't come up.
Oh,
Google,
really?
you know, those Google results.
Oh no.
Just like this whole race wasn't
you
supposed
gotta,
to
you gotta
be
take it off your Instagram bio. I think that's step one. So.
That was solely for the social. Somebody managed my social media the one time in my life. Super great. I would say it's comparable to something like the Colorado Trail, not obviously as mountainous, super rugged. There has been many people over the years chasing this record. It runs from, I guess, like kind of the tip of, I would say, Michigan for U.S. Connection, down to Niagara Falls. So it's about 600 miles, point to point. And yeah, that was my little COVID project. My house in Canada is right on the Bruce Trail. And I thought, what better way to explore, and just kept on extending that. And I'm almost halfway either end. So yeah, it's stunning in like the different ecosystems and the diversity that's on the trail. Like you have parts where you're in little state parks, and then farmers fields, and then some rock climbing. So it's super diverse and just stunning terrain to feature like what Ontario has to offer.
Wow. And to do that in under 9 days, I mean, you're probably doing, was that like 60 miles a day or more?
Yep.
Wow.
About that, and very trashed.
Yeah.
So
I've run part of the Bruce Trail, and I
cool.
know that the weather and the rocks and mud and things like that can be a big factor. That's a tough FKT.
Yeah, and I feel like that probably took, they all call it the curse of the Bruce Trail, and everyone says that you have a bad year the year after, and I was like, I can shake it. And it was a tough year. You just have niggles that keep on popping out of nowhere, right? That's really hard on your body and recovery. So yeah, I've just spent the rest of the year and a lot more time on my bike. Mm-hmm. And I adore skiing. That's probably my primary sport if I had snow all year round. So
Arlen, last year you were second to Rich, who's my coaching client. This year Rich isn't here. Jimmy's here. What are you thinking? Who's your competition, and how are you feeling about the race?
Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't really study the competition much. I have run enough of these that I know that the outcome of the race is, kind of up to me figuring out my my plan. Yeah, I know there's some fast guys on the list. The list goes really deep. But I don't know. There again, like, I'm here to race myself, so whatever.
I know you're, treating this more as a low-key race or effort for you. Do you still enjoy the competition and seeking out, like, lining up with a lot of other, like, fast guys or competitive guys out there?
Yeah, I definitely like to find a field that's competitive. Like, if I'm going to show up, it better have something special about it. And yeah, as Run Rabbit Run never disappoints when it comes to competition. So yeah, that's for sure. But like, part of my reason for being here is like, sometimes I do like races for adventure and fun, and then sometimes I do races that I have done before just so I can put it on autopilot and hone my skills in a little bit. And so that's what brought me back, was more like, I've obviously had enough adventure for 1 year, and so this is race time. This is a race for
like
me.
Get the marble back in the groove and see what
Yeah.
How fast it rolls.
I really want to see what I'm capable of. I think the fitness is there. I'm ready to run. I really want to see what I'm capable of. I don't really care how the other guys run. If I get to share some miles, if I get to try to run somebody down, like that's always fun. That's why I line up with some pretty stiff competition. But
Western States is a fast 100-miler. Hard Rock is a very slow, difficult 100-miler. Run Rabbit Run is, in my opinion, kind of the in-between between those two. Do you feel like, since Hard Rock, you've been able to get back some wheels, do a little bit more speed stuff, a little less power hiking? What has been your approach in the last 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, after Hard Rock, like anytime I go from mountains or slow running back home to flat, I feel the runnable parts usually feel so much better. And so usually after a few days training in the mountains, if I hit the flats, that's when the legs feel really snappy. So I think like switching things up is actually what really helps. But I would much rather go from a less runnable to a more runnable than vice versa. So I think I have the right ingredients in the pot. We'll just see what it cooks up to be.
That's awesome. Let's see. What was I going to ask? Looks like we're going to have good weather, I think, overall. I think there's some rain in the forecast today. Did you guys have much weather last year? Oh, yeah, it was raining, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's all based on
blur.
Opinions. I'm pretty sure some people thought they were going to die up there, but then other people acted like it was nothing. So, yeah, we had probably one of the most memorable things I experienced last year in terms of weather. Of course, we had hail, rain, snow. We had rain, how many different kinds of weather. But then we had this thick fog that moved in probably like around 4 a.m. And I remember being up top, and I came out of the aid station, and there wasn't any flag directly in front of me, and I didn't know where to go. So I just followed like this trail, and I can remember like the fog was so thick you could only see maybe like 20 feet in front of you. And I was going and I was looking at this trail, and all of a sudden I'm like, there's water right in front of me. And I was like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, wait, no, that's a lake. Here I went down to like the boat launch at the lake. I'm like, okay, this is wrong. So I went back and then found the other way. But yeah, we had some fog so thick you could slice it last year, but that was probably the most memorable.
Yeah, the weather this year I think will be ideal for running fast because you don't have what oftentimes happens in the middle of September in Colorado is the nights are long, it gets to freezing up high, and then during the day it can get up to 65, 75 degrees. 2 years ago at Hard Rock, this kind of weather where it was cool and kind of cloudy and nice, I think that will, in my opinion, I think we'll see some fast times, and so I think that will be great for seeing that competition between you and Jimmy and some of those other fast guys.
Yeah. I think the weather, the temperature swing, like you mentioned, is definitely a huge factor. But I ran 40 minutes slower at Western States in 20 degrees cooler, so I might just overdress out there, and because I think the heat probably actually maybe makes me run better. So maybe it's not my year, but I think I'm going to go for it anyway.
Just put that heat suit on. Karen, for you, how much is the draw of the competition for this race? Like, how important is that for you? Are you excited to be out there with the other women this year?
Yeah, I love to compete, I think, in anything that I do. I primarily, despite growing up and living and racing primarily mostly, training in Canada. I've mostly raced in the US, a lot more in the Northeast, of course, just based on proximity. But just taking the opportunities to always travel and race in other places just because of like larger population, more people, more women in trail running, and therefore you just get a broader competition. And sharing some miles with some other women is always fascinating. Just sharing stories. I'm pretty chatty on the trails for people that know me. And that's my gut check of like, am I in control with my pace? Can I talk? Yes, maybe not up the first climb. I think that's part of my connection with trail running, and my love for it is about my goal is always to make one new friend, usually the race. So I hope to do that tomorrow.
Nice. Arlen, could you talk about for the viewers out there that don't know a lot about this race, how does it kind of lay out section by section? What are some of your favorite parts of this race course? And I've never been out here for the 100-mile race. I can imagine right here at Olympian Hall, there's got to be like a great energy. We're right by downtown. We've got probably a lot going on here.
Yeah, one of the draws for me to this race is the noon start. I find that very interesting and sort of like also very challenging. I think that's like the hardest possible for like the winning men's time. Usually they finish right about daybreak, and that puts, like, as you know, when it gets light, you kind of get your second wind. It kind of puts the end of the race at the worst part of the night. And so that adds a lot of dynamic. It also does take away from the scenery a bit, because we only get about 7 hours of running in the day. So that kind of cuts the scenery a little short, although I will say that there's nothing like looking at Steamboat from the top at night. That is something to behold. So yeah, as there's a big climb right away, and then you you come down to Fish Creek, kind of halfway back down, and then you go back up. And you spend a lot of time up around 10,000 feet. It's not like crazy high, but it's definitely a lot for a boy from Ohio. And
You're
then
a hard rocker, Arlen.
Okay.
Fourth at Hard Rock.
Whatever. Okay. I've actually probably spent less time in Ohio than I have other places this year.
You're a global traveler now.
Yeah, global traveler. So I've seen a lot this year already. But yeah, so like the descent then back into town is pretty cool. That's like around halfway through, maybe not quite halfway through. And then when you cross over to the other side of town, that's kind of cool. It's kind of a bumpy up and down section. I can remember last year that that's where we went into the night, and that's where my body said, okay, you're done. No more. And I don't know how I still managed to work up through the field, because I felt like I waddled the rest of the race after the halfway point last year. But then you of course climb back up, and then like the last section was challenging for me, because like my legs were gone. It's sort of flat running up there, but then you're back up high, and if you know what the altitude does to us,
up high and cold too.
Yeah, it was cold last year. I wore pants and a jacket for most of last year's race, and I don't know how I got away with it, but at Hard Rock this year, it was cold at night at Hard Rock. I know it was hot in the day, but it was cold. And I got away with a short sleeve shirt and no gloves for almost the entirety of Hard Rock. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers, like maybe I just wasn't putting a good enough effort out last year when I was here, and maybe if I can get benefit from some of my what do they call it, altitude doping or whatever from Hard Rock. Maybe that'll be
acclimation.
Okay, acclimation. I
Don't
get
use
those
the word doping here.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my strategy, is like stay in shorts so that you keep moving. Don't put on pants. You get warm and cozy, and then you're like, I don't need to move as fast, and you're up high, and I don't know. I don't think the winds get that bad up here. They don't look like they should be. So, and now I think the temperature is not as high during the day, but it's not as low during the night. They've narrowed the window, which is perfect. So.
Humidity is a factor too. Running this morning up Mount Warner, it was just very wet because it's kind of just damp right now. It's been raining quite a bit, so that's a factor too, to make sure you're not wet at night.
You're talking to
Yeah,
two
you-
people that live in like the most humid climate.
I
I look outside and I'm like, it's 99% humidity, but it's not raining.
Mr.
That's
Southwest
interesting.
Colorado.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
That
like,
was
it
a
was
funny.
humid this morning.
That was a funny one because I jumped in the river this morning after my run, and I thought I dried off like instantly. And I'm like, this is so nice not having
Humid for
It's-
Colorado.
it's all relative.
I'll preface that. Awesome. Yeah. Any last thoughts for the race and anything else to say?
I'm just excited for it. I'm pretty sure Karen has a last thought
What is my last thought? Did we talk
about
this?
my neighbor.
Oh,
I mean,
You
I didn't
asked
think
us?
I would have.
we wanted to share fun facts, and we thought that it would be more fun if you got to share a fun fact about the other person. Arlen and I met last year at Western States training camp, actually, and have kind of continued to cross paths. I paced at Western States, so we keep on like meeting up at random races. And I was like, "You have to do Run Rabbit Run." I'm doing it, and I begged for him to be my teammate, but sadly he chose otherwise, which is fine. I understand.
That wasn't the random fact
No.
I was looking for.
Throw Arlen under the bus fact.
No, he's like, I'll never go to a race that has anything interview televised, and I'll always go solo on my interview. I was talking on our shakeout run about like, I don't know, we were talking about like neighbors and fun things during COVID anyways, and his sisters shared, they were like, oh, we have a new neighbor, and I was like, what's your neighbor? And Arlen has a giraffe as a neighbor, a baby giraffe named Benson.
This is a new neighbor? Or
Yes.
And I was like, how much does a giraffe cost? And so we started to connect that to prize winnings. How many times would you have to win Run Rabbit Run to buy a giraffe? So that was our conversation. You have to win.
Well,
a
how
couple
much
times.
is a giraffe?
I think, was it 40?
We did some checking. I've never bought one. They said like the low end is 40,000, so it would take a lot of. I don't know, a lot of winning Run Rabbit Run. But
We need
for
to do some more
Jason
Google
Schlar,
search.
maybe that would be
pull it
easy.
together.
You still got some money left over from back in
I
your
do not
wing.
have any of the money left over, I'm afraid.
Do you have a few giraffe?
I don't have a giraffe either. I
got 'em
have
back
nothing
when
to
they
show
were-
besides, a good time.
That's all what we're here for.
Yeah. Right on. Well,
Awesome.
thank you for that fun fact. That was awesome.
Any
Good
more fun
luck.
facts, or that's it for now?
I think we'll do
We'll close
with
at that.
because Karen shared more than enough on the fun facts, so we'll just roll with that.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us, and Arlen will continue to follow you around the world and live stream every race you do, so keep an eye out.
Yeah.
But seriously, thank you. Best of luck tomorrow, and we'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you.